Governor, thanks. Before I start my presentation, I want to thank the governor for the opportunity to work on this budget. Been an exciting 6 months putting this thing together. I want to thank my cabinet colleagues who are present and those who are not, and all their employees who worked so long to make this come to fruition. And I'll finally thank the employees of the Office of Budget and Management for the hard work they put in to get us to this point today. Couldn't be done without all those folks and their contributions. So, getting started, I want to talk about 4 principles that the Kasich administration has used, that the governor has insisted upon throughout the time that we have put these budgets together. First, we've got to be fiscally responsible. We've got to use conservative economic forecasting, conservative revenue estimates. Make sure we have covered through appropriations all the expected costs that we expect to occur in the next period. We want to try to restrain spending. And we've done that this time by not necessarily consuming all the resources that we might, but instead providing for a tax cut for Ohioans. And we want to maintain balance and structural balance to avoid the fate of some of those other states the governor is talking about. The governor insists that we look at every program and every line item in this state budget and see, is it running as effectively as it can? What resource levels can we squeeze some more out? What does it need to fund its program responsibilities? How can we be as efficient as possible? We want to manage well. Carefully look at the operations of state agencies and programs. Let's see if we can't do the most we can with the least dollars that are possible to achieve the program ends. There's a lot of good work going on in the administration in that regard. Lastly, a balanced budget is a means to an end, not an end in and of itself. When we are fiscally strong, it allows us to take action to help improve the overall health of this state, the economic health of the state. We can devote resources to tax reductions that spur economic growth, and we can have a healthy economy that generates revenues to support our schools, our institutions of higher education, frees up funds for some of the social service programs that the governor mentioned for those who are most in need in our state. So, this budget is based on, it very strongly supports the governor's key priorities. We've talked about the balanced budget, restraining growth, and supporting the governor's key priorities. We've talked about K-12 education and the significant increases, $756 million in increases from the GRF and the lottery. We've talked about some changes to the foundation formula to most efficiently and effectively target resources to those districts who don't have the capacity to raise local revenue. In higher education, we're going to continue the governor's support of the nationally recognized performance-based funding program that rewards students based on graduation, rewards institutions when students graduate, when they complete classes, and when they reach success points that indicate progress toward a certificate or a degree. We also have significant tuition restraint and the debt relief program that the governor talked to, and John will talk a little bit more about. The governor reviewed the tax cuts to try to drive economic competitiveness and economic activity in this state. Joe will cover that more in just a few minutes. With regard to early childhood, again, significant additional resources put into early childhood, not only in education, but additional money in child care, as the governor said, and a real innovative mental health program for children in preschool as well, that I'm sure we talked about. Health transformation, ongoing reform and improvement of the Medicaid program. Try to contain costs, to improve the delivery of services, to improve the way we pay, get better health outcomes. And of course, this bill does contain appropriations to continue the Medicaid expansion, which was put into place several years ago. Significant, historic investments in funding for community programs in the Department of Developmental Disabilities. Dollars to expand community waiver slots by over 3,000. Additional funding for our Employment First initiative to help the developmentally disabled find competitive employment. Largest increase in years and years in this area. Mental health and addiction services focus on recovery housing, crisis services and intervention, working with drug courts and other specialty dockets to try to address significant mental health issues in the community, And of course, this is in addition to the benefit that mentally ill and addicted can benefit from the, through the Medicaid expansion for general health care services as well. The Human Resources Innovation will have a presentation about how we're trying to, and the governor mentioned, how we will rework our human services system to try to deliver people to up and out of poverty, improve the system that for too long has been siloed. Talk about innovation driving expanded opportunities through public service job creation. You know, one of the most interesting proposals in this bill, from my perspective, is a collaboration between the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction and Mental Health and Addiction Services. They have struck an arrangement whereby mental health will operate the recovery service programs inside the prisons, taking that function over from DRC, letting DRC focus on their core responsibility. In addition, there will be significant new dollars put in to improve the system inside the prisons, and then there will be an expanded effort for those prisoners who are released to try to reintegrate them into the community and avoid recidivism. And then lastly, Governor mentioned we want to protect and maintain our reserves in the unforeseen event where we should have a challenge, have sufficient resources to be able to manage our way through that circumstance. So looking at the all funds budget recommendations, you know, the Ohio Constitution, Article 2, Section 22 says no money shall be drawn from the Treasury except in pursuance of a specific appropriation, and no appropriation shall be for less than 2 years. So all dollars that come into the Treasury are subject to appropriation by the General Assembly. The total all funds budget, $68.5 million the second year, 70 the second, grows by just a couple of percent. The state dollars, which is taxes, fees, gas taxes, general fund taxes, grows just by under 3% per year. Now, another way to look at this is to look at where the General Revenue Fund fits into this. The General Revenue Fund is the largest single fund in the state. It is, unlike most funds, it has both state and federal dollars in it. It is the fund where there's a lot of attention paid by the public in the General Assembly because that is where they have the most discretion. We also will talk a lot about the general fund today, but I want to emphasize we've tried to look at every line item, no matter what fund it's in, because all those dollars sent to the Treasury, tax dollars or not, fee dollars, federal dollars, we want to make sure we're most appropriately making use of them. So turning to the General Revenue Fund itself, you see where the appropriations stand. Our state GRF dollars, those that are generated by our own state resources, primarily general taxes, growing by only about 4% a year. Now you notice the total general fund grows by 12% the first year and just a little under 5% the second year. This is primarily a result of an accounting change in the sense that the Medicaid expansion program was outside of the General Revenue Fund during the current biennium. In this biennium, because there will be a state share that's required in this biennium, it is put into the General Revenue Fund. And that is the primary driver of the federal GRF growth and of the total GRF growth. Again, back to the state share. Our own state dollars, including our state general fund share of Medicaid, growing only at 4% a year.
Tim, let me just talk about this for a second, because it's a pretty remarkable thing. I'm a believer that we should consider the spending for all of